Hey everyone, Malleo here. Well, development on the 8th Ttyd tool-assisted speedrun has begun. The newest teleported room early method, which I made a video on recently, allows for up to 10 minutes of time save, meaning I will finally get a sub 2 hour task. You can watch the development of that task over at twitch.tv/taskmalleo. I'll be live streaming pretty frequently, seeing as how I kinda can't leave my house due to the pandemic. And funnily enough, the newest task will be made on the US version of the game, just like my first ever Ttyd task. The US version is now faster since teleported room early can now be done equally as fast on any version, and because the US version actually has a skip in the prologue where we can pass right by the normally unavoidable Goomba Trio battle. This is US and PAL specific because the moving platform moves farther to the left than in the Japanese version. In addition, there's also a faster way to set up blimp ticket skip that's only available in the US and PAL versions. Anyway, a few of us have been routing a 100% task for the future. The 100% category is defined as reaching level 30, obtaining all hammer, boot, and paper ability upgrades, collecting all crystal stars, obtaining all partners and their upgrades, logging all enemy tattles, cooking all recipes, and grabbing all badges. Note that you do not need to complete troubles for 100%, as the community has decided the criteria should only be things that are tracked on the pause menu. One of the toughest things to route optimally is recipes, as there are several individual items that are used repeatedly for various different dishes. In Central Rogueport, once you give Ttyd her contact lens, you can ask her to cook various different recipes for you if you give her 1 or 2 ingredients. These ingredients are simply items that can be found in various different places across the Paper Mario world. However, sometimes one item is required for multiple different recipes. It would be pretty slow and hard to optimize if we had to repeatedly buy the same item over and over again, go back and forth to various places to obtain these items in order to satisfy all recipes. However, as it turns out, there's a trick that can help us. This video will go over a fairly unknown Ttyd exploit exclusively for the Japanese version of the game that allows you to repeatedly give Ttyd items without them being removed from your inventory. This is the inventory overload. As many of you know, in Ttyd you can store up to 10 items in your inventory. You can change the sorting method to rearrange the items to your liking, and you can consume certain items in the overworld such as mushrooms and honey syrups, which replenish HP and FP respectively. Though this isn't the main focus of this video, there's actually a separate exploit which allows you to consume items in the overworld without them leaving your inventory, and it's simply called the sort glitch. For this exploit, we start by opening our inventory menu. Then we press Z to open the sort menu. From there, we can either press A and start, up and start, or down and start on the same frame. Doing so causes the sort menu to not close out properly, which means the sort menu will remain open the next time we open the inventory menu. Even though it doesn't look like the sort menu is open, we can press A and you'll see that the items move around. Thus, if we consume an item, we can change the menu sort right before the item actually gets used. If we change the sort such that the item we used is no longer in the same position, the game will not remove the item from your inventory. When you consume an item, the game attempts to remove that specific item from the index in your inventory that it was originally in. If we activate sort glitch, consume an item, and move the item to a different location in the inventory, then the algorithm that tries to remove the item no longer finds that item in the index that it was previously in. Therefore, the game fails to remove the item, and it stays in the inventory. So now, in instances where we're consuming items in the overworld, we can effectively use them infinitely many times. I've been using this for a while in my any percent tasks, as it allows me to repeatedly fill up on health or FP without worrying about having to grab another HP or FP item later. Note that this glitch is only possible on the Japanese version of the game. On the other versions, a fix was implemented to prevent the sort menu staying open when unpausing. Sort glitch only prevents items used in the overworld from being removed from your inventory. Now let's move on to Ttyd and her cooking. Inside Ttyd's house, we can give her either 1 or 2 items, and she'll cook them to form a recipe. When we give her an ingredient, it's removed from our inventory. Thus, we need a new trick in order to avoid these ingredients from being removed from the inventory. This is where inventory overload comes into play. On floor 50 of the Pit of 100 Trials, the large chest contains an item called the Strange Sack. After obtaining this item, Mario's inventory size increases from 10 to 20. As that suggests, Mario can now store up to 20 items in his inventory as opposed to the normally intended 10 item limit. This in itself can be pretty useful, as it would minimize the number of trips we have to take in a 100% task to grab additional recipe ingredients. But we can do better than that. Now, I don't think it's often that this happens, but no one in our community found this glitch I'm about to discuss. It was actually found by someone named Taro back in 2013, and they posted it on a Mario Wiki discussion forum. A few years later, a prominent community member named Soric wandered upon it one day, and that was when we finally learned of its significance. If we have the Strange Sack, return to the Great Tree, revert to a Chapter 2 state, and open the blue cage containing the Punies, a routine associated with removing the blue cage key from Mario's inventory causes a peculiar side effect. It accidentally removes the Strange Sack as well. And because of that, Mario is no longer capable of carrying 20 items due to this odd bug. This bug is present exclusively in the Japanese version of the game. Upon opening the cage, the game calls a routine named Pouch Check Item, which looks to make sure that the blue key used to unlock the cage is in your inventory. When this function returns, it then calls Pouch Remove Item, the routine responsible for removing items from your inventory. However, when Pouch Check Item identifies that the blue key is in your inventory, it returns a value of true, which can be just represented as 1. This value of 1 is then passed into the Pouch Remove Item function by mistake. Because a value of 1 is passed in, this routine will attempt to remove an item of ID number 1 from your inventory. Coincidentally, the Strange Sack has item ID 1. Because of this, the routine will remove the Strange Sack from your inventory. Note that the game also successfully removes the blue key during this process, as it seems that as a form of error check, the game calls Pouch Remove Item again. Luckily, the correct item ID for the blue key is passed into the routine the second time. And again, note that this bug is only present in the Japanese version of the game, as this routine is fixed in the US and PAL versions. Let's say you open the blue cage with a full inventory of 20 out of 20 items. So, because the removal of the Strange Sack no longer allows you to hold 20 items in your inventory, you may be wondering what happens to items 11 through 20 when the Strange Sack is taken away. So, let's go into a battle. We can still scroll to items 11 through 20 in the battle. Okay, well, let's use one and see what happens. When we use an item in slots 11 through 20, the item works as intended in the battle. But if we go back to our items, that item is still there. Okay, well, let's use it again. It's still there. So what's going on? As a result of losing the Strange Sack, the routine that removes items from your inventory upon using them fails to even reach the item in question. If you don't have the Strange Sack in your inventory, the routine will only iterate through the first 10 items of your inventory. When it fails to find the item you used, it stops running and therefore leaves the item in your inventory. If we go to Ttyd's house and have her cook using an ingredient in the second half of our inventory, the same thing is observed. The item remains in our inventory afterwards. This trick will effectively save time in the 100% tasks by negating the need to run around and pick up duplicate ingredients. Though it isn't the most useful or a game-changing glitch, I thought it was pretty interesting that a small bug in one function could lead to something like this. Who knows, maybe there are plenty of small bugs such as this one left to be found. Thanks for watching.